And when we discover these plotters, we don't even know what to do. We say, well, there's no precedent for this. We don't know what it really. So the people sitting at this desk, working in this office, they make things up as they go along. They bungle the prosecutions. They expose vital intelligence. They give comfort to the enemy. And they allow treachery and treason to build further. All because they don't know history. They didn't know that a prior administration 70 years earlier faced the same issue and developed a plan. And before that, it happened about 100 years ago. Problems are easy to solve. If you look to the people who have solved those same problems before, the cost of historic illiteracy can be measured in the lives that have been lost to the terrorist attacks on our cities, the military bases, all because our leaders didn't study their own history. They didn't read. They pretended. Like, I'm the first guy to answer the phone. Hello, Oval Office. The first Americans to face a challenge. But they're not the first. They're not the second. They're not even the 50th. The circumstances change. The cast of characters change. The culture changes. But in the end, the challenge is exactly the same. And here it is. You're going to be prosperous or stagnant. You're going to be free or dependent. You have justice or injustice, unity or disunity. Which is it? The individual or the state? These are the choices that every American has ever known. Every president has ever faced. Every generation of Americans has been asked to choose. Which one? They're not new choices. Our problems aren't new problems. What's new is the self-imposed ignorance. Ignorance of history. Ignorance of what America stood for 236 years. Ignorance of what America has learned in those years. Ignorance of the success. Ignorance of the failures. That's new. You can get ignorant by not learning. But you can also be ignorant just by being arrogant. It'll always be like this. Government will solve the problem. Arrogance. Thinking you know more than those who came before you. By thinking that you know everything you need to know. That's what we see today. Wouldn't it be great if the president sat behind this desk? If he said, I'm going to try something completely different. I'm going to invite you as the American people into the Oval Office, and I'm going to talk to you once a week for 43 consecutive weeks. And every time, I'm going to talk about one president, one man, one president, one problem for 5 minutes. Just a little message about each former president, saying each time, this president, Jefferson or Grant or Arthur or Truman, whatever. He led the nation for X number of years. This is the problem that he was trying to solve. These are the things that he tried to do. This is where he succeeded. This is where he failed. And this, most importantly, the president would say, this is what I learned from his time in office. So I thank him, and so must you, for his service to the nation. Because we've learned something together. That's it. 5 minutes. That's it. A simple acknowledgement that nobody, not even the president, is above history. No matter how you stand, you are not greater than those who came before you. Here's my hope. That if the current president, or any president, would just stop for a second, that maybe he would take the time and learn from history. If he would just stop and think about what history has taught him, he might realize that Americans are much better than he thinks, are stronger than he thinks, more independent, more industrious, more capable of great things. We'll figure it out together. We'll take care of each other. He doesn't need a magic wand. He doesn't need to give a speech. He doesn't need to sign a law. Americans are quite capable of solving problems. That's what we do best. Quite honestly, the president should sit at this desk and say, look, I know you are much better than your leaders. If he would just learn learn and recognize that Americans should and can be trusted. We'll make mistakes, but we'll correct them. Americans, if they're trusted and encouraged, Americans will restore this nation. They will rebuild it. They will use the original blueprints. They're around here someplace. They must be. Maybe, I don't know where they keep them. Maybe in the basement. Use the original documents. And maybe, just maybe, if we had a president sitting at this desk who appreciated that history would be his best advisor, he would begin to recognize that history is alive. It doesn't belong to the Smithsonian. It belongs to you. History is to be celebrated, honored. Let me close with one story, because this one story will tell you why history matters. This desk, right here, it's called the Resolute desk. You would know that if you were sitting in the office and you saw this plaque. But anybody who knows history knows that that plaque is no longer there. This plaque was changed and it was reversed. This plaque tells the story of the